Hey everybody, this is American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett Scheer, and today we have got another contestant that you didn't see on season 21 of Idol. Please welcome Will Baskin.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be here. Honored to be on the unaired podcast.
I'm honored to have you. And we were just talking before, so we saw you for a couple seconds on the show. Technically, you're like an aired exception, kind of, because you were on screen.
Yeah, people are saying I broke the internet with my zero point 0.2 seconds of fame that I had on Sunday night. It showed me like strumming one chord, I believe, and yeah, America was pretty much swept off their feet. So it was a big game changer. It was fun.
It's funny because they watch it and people don't even know how many contestants are there, man. But like, do you remember what you're thinking in that moment? Because it flashes by for us, but for you,
Mhm.
what's going through your head during those 2 seconds that we saw on TV?
Uh, Dude, not much goes through this head, so probably not much in that very moment. I was probably very tired. I was probably on like 3 hours of sleep. I wish I had discovered the powers of melatonin when I got there because sleeping was really tough for me. I was just like so excited the entire time. So and they work you for like really long hours every day, like 12 hours or something like that. Half work, half just like sitting around. Um, so I was probably like, wish I could catch up on some sleep, but I was jamming on my guitar, so I was kind of like in my zone at the same time. Yeah. So I was just jamming out basically through
I
the
feel
sleep deprivation.
I feel like it's always interesting to wonder what goes through the minds of American Idol hopefuls because it is a TV show and everyone thinks it's such a
Yeah.
big deal, but you're kind of just there and like the days must be so long that you sort of lose yourself. And there's
Right.
cameras rolling, but you get used to it, right?
Yeah, and honestly, when I went down there, my plan was to just like make as many friends as possible and make as many connections as possible.
Yeah.
So I was towards the end, especially way more focused on doing that than the audition because I prepared enough. I prepared enough to where I was just like happy. I was like, all right, I'm over prepared for this. I could work an extra like 3 hours tirelessly on this song until I hate it, or I can just spend my time like getting to know these other people. And that was absolute best decision I could have made. Uh, like the jam sessions and some songwriting sessions and networking with those other musicians was just like a wave of inspiration for me. And I'm still in these group chats when I see these people posting like their talent all the time, which inspires me to post more and post higher quality. And going down there, that was kind of my intention. I was like, I want to get in the world of musicians a little bit more effectively. And that was kind of like my main goal. And I was concerned with my audition, but it was not the thing that I had the most control over, as opposed of making the most of the moments with the other people that I was meeting. I knew if I just put like time and energy into that, I could make a lot happen with that. And I'm going back in next week to Nashville actually to hang out with a bunch of the musicians from my Nashville week when I was auditioning. I made a lot of good friends and met like the best people, so I'm going to hang out with them again. And that is just like the chef's kiss, cherry on top. Kind of like what I wanted out of the audition and what I seemed to get. Like not getting a golden ticket was not as big of a deal for me as making all the connections, and so I'm like most proud of that.
I mean, it sounds like you answered my next question, which is the connections that you made. It sounds like your peers maybe pushing you, motivating you, inspiring you is more valuable than whatever advice or feedback the judges can give you in a
Yeah.
way. Even though they are these celebrities, these are
Hmm.
the people that are doing it with you, you know?
Yeah, and the judges are, they're working hard. They're seeing 20 to 30 people in a day. They're probably not sleeping much either. They're working long hours. They're gonna get to know you for 3 to 5 minutes. And I see a lot of the feedback they give, and it's really smart feedback. I like the stuff that Lionel Richie says about like believability and being authentic and having like a genuine persona that fits in with your own voice. Like they give a lot of really good music industry feedback, but they're only going to know you for about 3 to 5 minutes, and they're only going to know that that version of you. And so if there's more that you have to give, more that you have to offer, the people that you're spending 12 hours with every day and jamming out with, like they're going to get to know you a little bit better. And so like when they would give me critiques and compliments, it held much more weight with my peers rather than like what the judges were going to see from me for like about three minutes.
Who'd you get to know in the auditions?
Dude, the best people. Literally the first person I was on the bus with was this guy named Elijah, and just has like the most amazing, big, angelic voice that you've ever heard. And he's just a beautiful soul. I was on the bus like going over to the hotel, and he was like one of the first people that I met. And Oliver Steele and McKinley, shout out to them. They were both on the last episode. They were both on with their dads that they brought to their audition. McKinley's dad was a really, really nice dude. And I got to meet Bree. Bree got to sing all night long with Lionel Richie, like side by side on like dueling pianos, because she is a dueling pianist. I got to meet Vinny, got to meet Liam. Some of these people that haven't been aired that are also just incredibly talented. But a lot of the friends that I made did get aired, and that was really exciting to see. But I also knew like 10 or 15 people that when I heard them live, I was like, that's one of the best voices I'm ever going to hear in my whole life. And they didn't get to get aired. So that was also amazing just to like witness their talent. And when I gig every single weekend. I do like 4 to 5 gigs at these like bars and wineries and stuff. And it's very fun. I get paid to play music. It's a great time. I get paid to like party on the weekends basically. And it's wonderful, but it can get to be a real grind. You're in there sometimes, everyone's wasted and they're just trying to hit on the girl, or the girl is trying to get the guy's attention. And that's what they're worried about that night. They're not concerned with you, and you're just like singing your heart out, but they didn't come to buy tickets to your show. They're there just to have a good time. And so it can be a real grind, like playing to those crowds sometimes, even though it can be fun. And so like the inspiration I got from being around those other musicians was just something that's just like pushing me to do more, to write more, to connect with people more. I'm in like group chats with people to like do co-writes. I'm going to do the Song House for Nashville next week with a bunch of the American Idol people, which is just like big Instagram account of songwriters. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it.
Songhouse is cool. That's like kind of the futuristic mix between a record label, but also the social media age of the music industry, right?
Yeah, you follow it? You've seen like their stuff and everything?
Yeah, I've kind of gotten more in tune to it lately because it seems like a lot of people from the season are involved with it.
Yeah. Rebecca, I believe she was one of like the co-founders of it. That was great. Rebecca Brunner. I don't know if they showed her audition already or not. I haven't seen all the episodes. But she has a wonderful voice. And I remember I was a fan of the Songhouse Instagram before I went to Nashville. And the whole time I was going to Nashville, I was like, I just want to meet some songwriters, meet some like producers, like just figure it out. And that's my main mission when I'm down in Nashville. And I met Rebecca and I followed her on Instagram. I was like, oh yeah, we both follow like the Songhouse in Nashville. Like you seen their stuff? And she was like, yo, I founded it. You should come and hang out with us sometime. I was like, oh my God. It was a really cool moment. I was like, damn, this is awesome. Like these are the right people to get to know. And yeah, you're exactly right. They're doing a great job of having the organization of what a lot of record labels can provide to musicians, and a lot of the promotional tools that record labels can provide, but they're also using the social media angle and a bunch of small artists like collaborating angle. So it's kind of like new age way of making a label happen in its own right. Because labels are kind of like getting outdated. It's kind of more about people just blowing up on social media. And Songhouse is a good way of like having people work together, and they put out just awesome stuff all the time. So I can't wait to do those sessions next week.
It was such a collective experience for you. You meet all these other people, and the music industry is not a solo journey. You may be a solo artist and you also have a band, but really it's about what you can learn from as many people as possible. So you took advantage of that, I think, to the fullest.
100%, man. I think a lot of people were very prepared and they wanted to just focus on their audition, like get in there, kind of put their blinders on and then like do their audition. But I would highly encourage like the next season of people to just over prepare ahead of time so you just feel so confident in your song. And then when you arrive at your city, just network, because those are some really cool people. You're going to want to hold on to those memories, hold on to those connections. And then anything that you need help with, like I'm in these group chats. Some people have been producing professionally for a long time. And then other people are like, yo, how do I get started producing? And then you get to see these people start helping each other out. Some people are like, yo, I've been gigging for like myself. I've been playing professionally for about like 8 years, making a living off of just performing music and hiring people to perform music. And then you have people who are just starting out and like, yo, how do I do it? And so there's this great helping network for anything that you feel like you're lacking. You can meet these other people in the American Audition who have probably already been through that. There was a lot of people who were being very social and it was really cool. But I know some people would just like go to the lobby, go to their hotel, maybe not really talk to some people. And it's because they were, very focused on their audition, but I think the benefits from networking while you're there kind of outweigh a lot of the stuff because you might do an amazing audition and then never get aired.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So gigging for the past 8 years, is the time that you start performing around the same time that you start doing music just in general, singing, picking it up, or had you been interested in being a musician way before you even got on stage?
Dude, I don't know really where the switch flipped for me. I was kind of like walking into music my whole life just as a hobby and never took it seriously for a long time until like later for sure. Just kind of like rolling from job to job.
Right.
Funny enough. So in high school, I was like in choir from like middle school to high school. And then senior year, I was in the High School Musical and on the football team. And they did like a local news story about me because Glee was really popular at the time. It was really funny. They were like, "Oh, the singing linebacker." They thought it was just hilarious. And so I just thought, I was like, "Oh, that's a fun thing." And then I went to go get like a communications degree at George Mason University because I had a decent voice, but I never had a voice where automatically I thought I would make it on like American Idol or something like that. Like I was kind of inconsistent. I would hit like half the notes, somebody told me. And so then I went to George Mason University. And then for fun, I bought like a vocal course online and would do like 2-hour sessions of just recording myself, giving myself voice lessons and like going to the practice rooms to do that. And then I just got a communications degree, was jamming out with my buddy who I would like party with on the weekends. And we would like play music for girls at parties, basically, just like play like One Republic songs for them. And then it just kept spiraling. And then after college, I joined a company where we were I was a salesman, like selling retirement community gigs. And I got really good at selling gigs for musicians and performing at retirement communities myself. And then COVID hit and the retirement communities shut down. And then the only thing I could do for money was like teach people online, which I had a few students, but then drive up to, we were talking about Delaware Beach. The outdoor beach bars were the only ones that were open, and they were open at half capacity and no one was allowed to dance, but they were the only bar that was open that was having live music anywhere within 3 hours of me. So I would drive 3 hours to Dewey Beach, play for 8 hours, Jimmy's Grill from noon to 4, and then Rusty Rudder from 5 to 9, and then just be a zombie and then drive 3 hours back. So it was like 6-hour round trip, 2 gigs in a day, making like $400. Like,
Dude,
not
you
even
should
that
have crashed
much.
at my place, man.
I should have, bro. You have no idea
Oh,
how many times we tried to find a place in Delaware Beach when me and my buddies were doing like these duo gigs, going up there, playing and coming back. We had these terrible ideas. We were like, yo, this weekend, man, we're going to sleep. Like Walmart parking lots will just let you sleep there for free, dude. It's
yeah,
like,
it's not too cold out.
how is no one doing this? And we slept in a Walmart parking lot one time, sweating because it was so hot. And they just leave these blue lights on all the time, just shining in your eyes, so like you can't close your eyelids. And then homeless people are just like walking by, tapping on the glass. raccoons are just like talking to each other. Like it was an absolute nightmare fuel of an experience.
Oh my God.
One time, real quick, in Delaware, Dewey Beach, my guitarist was like, yo guys, forget Walmart. That was a terrible idea. But this time I'm going to bring my tent, and there's a camping ground 15 minutes away from Jimmy's Grill. So we can just camp out. It'll be great. It was just as hot. And then at 7 a.m., the seagulls are just waking you up, screaming to each other, just going, ah! That's how seagulls talk. They just go, ah! At 7 a.m. Oh my God, dude. And I got the worst sunburn in my life. It was some real times trying to make a living in Delaware. But like, that was the only thing that was open, was these 50% capacity gigs where if someone got up to dance, you had to stop playing music and they had to kick those people out because of COVID protocol at the time. So it was some wild times. For like 2 or 3 years, I was doing duo stuff. Then I started making more money playing solo gigs. Like they would keep paying me like $350 to play, like, or $250 to $350 depending on the gig, plus tips. And I would just be playing solo gigs. And I was making like way better money playing solo. And then I got better and better. And then people started telling me like, oh, yo, you should try it for the show. You should try it for the show. And eventually they just got around to like convincing me that I should go try it. And now I just do it. Like it's my second full-time job. So I hire musicians during the week, and I hire musicians for retirement community gigs, 1 hour shows during the day, like 2 to 4 p.m. And then that's my Monday through Friday. And we got about 40 clients, about 20 musicians. And then my Thursday through Sunday, I'm a full-time musician. And now like I've kind of fallen into just like doing this thing as a hobby for so long that I'm like, I might as well, I like where my voice is. I like where my talent is. I want to record my originals and make something with it. And so that's how I kind of like stumbled into the American Idol business.
I was going to say, so that was you in the Walmart parking lot when I was driving.
Basically, man. Yeah.
Oh
Eyes wide open, not being able to sleep. It's just like a constant in my life, sleep deprivation.
Ah, man. Well, what a journey, and it continues. But I feel like that's what's so cool about getting to hear where you've been, because everybody walks into the show with a different story, and I can't imagine the stories that you heard from other contestants. But walking into that room, I am so curious about just like what you have done after the show, because so much of what you described has come after Idol. But give me just really quickly kind of a description of walking into that room, what you sang, what the judges were like, and your audition experience.
Yes, dude. I would love to talk about this because it was a big curveball that kind of hit me at the last second. So this is not an excuse, but it was just something that I didn't expect to be an issue. And it kind of hurt my chances of getting my golden ticket. But if I was like amazing, then this problem wouldn't even have mattered. So I was there with my piano player and we were ready to like jam out. And if you're playing piano by yourself, they give you a microphone and a floor monitor so that you can hear your own voice. If you're singing and you're accompanied by a piano, you don't have any floor monitor or anything like that, or really any way to hear your own voice back to yourself. So you just have to sing over the piano. And they have a guy that plays music in the American Idol audition that will like learn your song. But I brought my buddy because like we've been playing together forever. And I remember I asked the producer ahead of time, like, are the acoustics good? Like, can you hear yourself? And they were like, yeah, Will, like we've never had a problem. Anyone complain about the acoustics. But when I went in there and we started singing the song called Bring It On Home by Sam Cooke, it's a song that I do at like a lot of my retirement community gigs. I've been singing it forever. And Sam Cooke's like my favorite singer of all time. When we started singing, we'd been jamming whenever we practiced it. And then my buddy starts jamming on the piano and I realize like, I can't hear my own voice like at all. Oh. And I didn't have like a belty voice. I've worked on it since then, like to get volume, so I can be loud whenever I need to now. But at the time, like I was more about like my rasp, my tone, my like intricacies of my voice. But when he started jamming on the piano, I was like, dang, I can't hear myself at all. So hope this sounds good. So I kind of like did my thing, but I was like, I'm so used to having a monitor at all my gigs. If I can hear myself, it'll go well. And then I got to the end of it. I was like, I don't know what that sounded like. So it could have been really bad. It could have been really good. And then I got some like mixed feedback. Luke Bryan was like, yeah, man, I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I couldn't hear myself. I get it. And then Katy Perry was like, I think you're good. I don't think you're bad. I just don't know if you could win this competition. And I was like, you know what? I'll take that. That's not too bad. I don't remember what Lionel Richie said. He was just so beautiful. So I just got distracted by how much of an angel that man is. And that was it. They weren't feeling it. And I was like, I get it. I couldn't hear myself either. So I wasn't feeling it myself, to be honest. The banter beforehand was great. I told him that I play in retirement communities sometimes. And Lionel Richie was like, so what is the average age for the people that you play for in these retirement communities? And I was like, oh, like 55 and up. And he was like, I'm literally too old for this shit. And then he just like got up and walked out. But it was funny. It was like he was laughing and we were all laughing. It was a good time. And then Katy Perry was like, well, we're ready to be your youngest audience yet. And so like that was pretty funny. The banter was good. I was hoping they would show like the stuff beforehand. But again, I think just vocally speaking, like minus songwriting, minus artistry, minus stuff like that, just vocally speaking, when I was down there, I was like, I'm probably like in the middle of these people. Some people, like everything could go wrong in their audition, but they're so undeniably amazing that they're going to make it through to Hollywood. And I wasn't in that like top 10% percentile thing. I was in like the middle range where if something was weird with the acoustics, then I would have less of a chance to get in. And I was okay with where I was at for that. And I remember my piano player was like super distraught. He was like, dude, maybe this music thing just isn't for us. I was like, bro, it's fine. Like it's totally okay. Like I couldn't hear myself. So I'm not really, it's not like I thought, oh my God, that was my best performance ever. And if they say no, I'm going to be crushed. It was like, this is one of my not best performances ever. So if they say no, I'm halfway expecting it. And I know how to improve. So because I know how to improve, I'm not putting all my eggs on this one performance. I always know how to get better. So it wasn't the end of the world. I know some people, when they came out, they were like super crushed. And that's kind of what I wanted to do this podcast, was like talk to people about all the other things you can do in music that have nothing to do with American Idol audition. And that's what we're here to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of build up when you build it up in your mind, right? Because you get there and you think you've gotten through so many rounds. First of all, we didn't even talk about the multiple auditions before the audition. Did you audition yourself or were you scouted?
Right. Some people were like scouted on social media. Not this guy. I got like 2K followers. So, you know what I'm saying? I had to bang it out in the Zoom calls. So they do like that open call on Zoom. The week before the auditions were up, a family friend of mine texted me and was like, yo, Will, don't forget to audition. I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot. That Monday came around. I did not think I would even make it past the first round of producers, but I sang like a soft little sweet song on the Zoom call. And I sang Valerie, and then I sang an original, and he really liked the original. I kind of wish I had done my originals in the Nashville audition, but oh well. And then I sang a third song. I did Trouble by Ray LaMontagne as like my soulful one, and then I did Valerie by Amy Winehouse, and then I did my original, and then they gave it the title of Cuffing Season because I told them I didn't have a title for it yet. Do you know what cuffing season is?
The whole dating thing, yeah.
Right. It's when you're dating in the wintertime because everyone like feels lonely, so they like get in relationships in the wintertime, and then they uncuff in the summertime and like have hot girl summer or whatever.
Yeah.
But my producers were all like full-grown adults, and they didn't know what it was. So I was like, yo, it's nothing kinky. I know there's a family show. Like, it's just like a normal kid's term, cuffing season. And that was what the song was about. And so like they were like, oh, you should call it Cuffing Season then. I was like, that's a great idea. So they gave a title to it. But yeah, I did one Zoom round, and then I did a second. You like wait with some other musicians and then do another Zoom call. And so it was like 2 Zoom rounds where I was saying about 6 songs in total for 2 different producers. And they were like, hey, we want to send you to the celebrity round next. And I was just like beside myself, yo. I told a lot of people that I was going to be auditioning in front of the celebrities because I was just like, this is so crazy. I didn't even think I would get this far. So it was a big milestone even to make it through those first 2 rounds with the Zoom producers. They talk about they told us when we were down there, 140,000 people tried out this season, and about 300 made it to the celebrity round where you get to audition in front of the people. So like even showing up to Nashville, I was so validated already. Like you're in the top 300 out of 140,000. That's like 0.0002 percentile that you've already made it that far in the competition. And so it would have been really nice to get the golden ticket, but I already felt just like so happy to be there and so validated from just making it to a place where 139,000 people didn't get to make it to. Like it was pretty insane feeling.
One more quick thing before we get into the post title. With the acoustics, you got a rehearsal, right? And it was in a separate room. That's how they do it. So,
yeah.
But it was just to throw you off because the acoustics probably sounded good in there, but then you get to the judges' room and it's like, oh snap, this is different.
Dude, yeah, man. And that's why I ask, because like I'm very particular about being able to hear myself, because like I'll be at one bar gig where it's gonna be loud and it's drunk people, and you won't be able to hear yourself at all. And like you just can't control the tone as well with your voice. You're kind of just like running on muscle memory. And so for American Idol, they had a rehearsal space. And you go into the rehearsal space, and it's like a room that is sound treated. Like there's mattresses on the walls to like dull the sound on each side. And then the piano in there is a keyboard, which is not as loud as the grand piano that they have in the final audition room. And so then when we went to the final audition room, it was like, now he's playing on a grand piano, and it's not this like sound treated room. It's like this big open room. So like the piano was really echoing, and then like it was just taking up a lot of my like listening space. Basically, I just like couldn't hear my voice that well, which was kind of crazy in my mind, because anytime you're singing over piano for people, I've never seen a professional setting like that where you don't have a microphone. I believe in there you have like a boom mic,
right, that
you're singing at, and then I think they have some speakers that the judges can then hear. So, and then they pick it up, obviously. Like you're definitely mic'd up because they pick it up for the audition, like on for the cameras at home. They can hear you very well. But because their musician, I think his name was like Fredley, he's used to that room. I got a lot of reports from the other people auditioning that when Fredley played the piano, he was playing it super quietly and they could barely even hear the piano. So it sounds like Fredley knows, okay, they're singing, we want the vocals to shine, so we're going to play the piano super quietly. But me and my buddy were just like, we just want to rock out. And so I told him, like, dude, jam, bro. Dude, just like jam. But when we got in there and he started jamming, I was like, oh, shit. I can't hear myself at all. It probably sounds like an excuse, but it's kind of, if anything, I might like write up an email and like send that to American Idol. Like, if you have someone that's singing over a piano, and it's not your guy that's playing the piano, maybe just tell them to play the piano softer if you're not going to give them like a floor wedge to hear themselves back.
Just want to say, though, it's so valuable to singers that are thinking about the show because
for sure,
they get a little bit of a heads up. But even more of a heads up is what they can expect after, because it's an adjustment. And I'm curious what that adjustment was like for you and how quickly you kind of were going back to what you were doing or bringing some new things into the mix.
No, I had a long talk with my pianist because he's like one of my best friends. He got me into music like seriously in the first place. My buddy Grant Burgess. And we went to the hotel bar and we were just drinking our sorrows away, dude, at the hotel bar. And he was actually a little bit more distraught than I was at first because we both expected to get a golden ticket. We were both like pretty confident going in. And so like not getting one was kind of a jolt for sure. But I had already made like other plans for stuff that I was going to do if I didn't make it through the audition or if I did make it through. And like I said, when I went to Nashville, my main goal was to meet some other songwriters and meet some other producers and just make the right connections. And I had already done that. I had already met Rebecca and she invited me to come to Songhouse. And I met some like really cool musicians and we started getting these group chats that became really productive. And I just got this like wave of inspiration being around other musicians doing what I do. They talk about like the 5 people you surround yourself with determine like who you are. And I just wanted to be around other musicians who are doing what I was doing. And that was exactly what I got to do. And I'm still in contact with them. And I saw a lot of the younger musicians and my pianist feeling this way after the audition, like, dang, this audition didn't work out. What do we do now? And my plan was always like, I'm going to audition and I'm going to try to use this audition to just get eyeballs to me. Because even if you do well on American Idol, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be a big star. There's been 21 seasons and probably 30 people that had like big auditions in each season or big moments on TV. What's the match? It would be like 600. Would that be 600 people? 20 seasons, 30? Yeah. You don't hear about 600 like new big pop stars that have made it from the 21 seasons that they've had. And so you got to understand that a lot of it is still up to you, but American Idol is a great way to get people's attention. So my goal only was like, if I can get like 8,000 Instagram followers out of this from my audition being aired, then that would be the best possible scenario. Like even people that win it don't often go on to have massive careers. I see a lot of people that make top 10 and like, it's, you know, it's just tough. It's just tough. And they got do a lot of stuff independently. And I think sometimes people rely too much on a TV show to send them to the top, like the way TV used to be able to do that. But they say American Idol episodes and a lot of these singing shows get about like 8 million views per episode, which is about the same as like some viral TikTokers get when they put out, like when Jake puts out Golden Hour, like that probably got 100 million views on his song. And so you can do it yourself now more than you ever were able to in the past. I noticed a lot of people when they wouldn't make it or it didn't go as well as they thought it would in their audition, they came out like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And my answer was like, dude, just pick up your phone and like record yourself and you're going to get views and just get better at doing that. Get better at songwriting, get better at co-writing with people, learn how to produce your own music, make yourself as independent as possible, but keep auditioning for these things that could put you on a platform that will elevate you and have you meet other people. After I didn't get the ticket and I was talking to my buddy, part of it, my backbone and my self-respect told me like, never audition for anything ever again. Like just do it yourself. Like just write your own music, make your own videos, just go like full independent. Like you don't need any of this. Like that's what my tough guy side of my brain was telling me. And then the other side of my brain was telling me, look at all these amazing connections you made. Never stop signing up for singer-songwriter competitions, signing up for open mics. Never stop putting yourself in a spot where you can connect and be inspired by other musicians. But just never think that those events are like the end-all, be-all. This is going to be my ticket. Just keep doing stuff. Because at the end of the day, I just want to sustain myself financially and put out music that I love that people are going to connect with. And I don't need to do that in a stadium. I don't need to be famous to do that. There's a million musicians now who have like 100,000 followers and they're able to go on tour and they're able to put out music that people love and they have a Patreon and they're set financially. I have my own business where I book musicians. And so I'm just trying to build that to be as big as possible, help as many musicians with that as possible, put out my own original music and have the money that I make go into making good videos, making good original music content. And like, those are the things that I really have fallen in love with. Like, that's what I love to do. Like, I love to help musicians and I love to make songs that represent the ideas that are inside my mind. And one piece of advice that I would give to these musicians that are coming up and going through auditions where maybe they grew up watching American Idol and they think, oh, that's just like the ticket to fame and success and money. One thing I would invite them to think about is like, what do they really, really want? Like visualize where they want to be in 5 to 10 years. Because a lot of people, I think, set the goal of, I just want to play like the Apollo or Madison Square Garden. It's like, okay, why do you want to play Madison Square Garden? And it's like, well, because then I'll be like rich and famous. And it's like, okay, why do you want the fame? And do you just want a lot of attention on you? Yeah, they do. But some people maybe need to do like some introspection and be like, why do I want to be famous in the first place? Maybe the reasons I want to be famous aren't correct. Maybe I just always thought of famous as an indicator that you are successful. But maybe there's a lot of successful musicians who are not necessarily famous. Like Chris Stapleton talks about writing the song Your Man for Josh Turner, and it bought him his first house. And like he was making music for so long, touring, making money before he was ever famous. And so then if you can write fame out of the equation, there's like so many more things that you can do in the music industry. I know people that are like audio engineers that are touring on like the Taylor Swift. One of the guys I met in Nashville, this dude Liam, Oh my God. You got to interview Liam sometime because he would be great for on air. This dude is so humble. He's so nice. He's so talented. We're jamming all weekend, and like he's so humble that you don't expect that he's like popping off in these crazy ways or anything like that, because he just doesn't talk about himself that much. He doesn't like market himself when he's like talking to you. He just like wants to find out about what you're doing. I go on his Instagram and I see that he's touring as an audio engineer for Paramore. And then he told them that he was auditioning for American Idol. And so the biggest video on his Instagram is Haley Williams at a Paramore concert. And she's like, hey guys, one of our crew members is auditioning for American Idol, and we're going to have him sing a song for you all. So at a Paramore concert, Liam just gets to come out and sing to this entire stadium full of people.
Wow.
And just like slay it. And he's also an audio engineer, so he was like helping people produce their songs when he was down there auditioning. Like, that's an amazing way that you can become a full-time musician, match your passion to where your money is going to be made. That's just like one of the coolest jobs I've ever heard of anyone doing. And Liam has all like the skills to put out his own original music. He can do whatever he wants with that talent. And he has this like financial freedom to do that now because he's working full time in the industry. There's ways you can figure out how to monetize music in a way that will work for your life. If you don't have a label that's already ready to pay all your bills for you and like send you to the top, and you're trying to figure out a sustainable way to be in music, figure out the money so that you can then spend some of that money and invest it into your business, which is going to be your music. Because a lot of the really good musicians that are coming up are getting like professional videos done. Keelan spends money to get like a good producer and a good videographer to make her music videos. She had her big hit, Don't Call Me Up, was her audition song. Do you see it?
Oh, it's great.
Oh, Keelan's great, yo. Keelan's awesome. And so if you're coming out and you're like, I'm just going to be a broke musician for a long time, you're competing with Keelan, who probably spends like, I'm just guessing, like $1 to $3 grand per like music video to get something that's like absolute quality and looks so pro that is really going to catch people's eye when they're swiping on their Instagram. You're going to be competing with that if you just want to be like a broke singer-songwriter for a long time. So I would just figure out a way to monetize if you can, so that you can have the freedom and control and the options to do whatever you want with your artistry. And also so you don't jump at the first label that's like, hey, here's $10,000, but we're going to own all your music forever. The way that like Taylor Swift did, and like she like had, you know, those big lawsuits and disclaimers and had to rebrand all her stuff. So I would really encourage people to figure out a way to make money and then pursue the music in the way that you want to pursue it.
That last piece is very critical. People that win American Idol, the contracts that they get, you might be better off doing everything that you just said. So on the contrary of what I said, everything that you just said, if you follow your instructions, you could be better off financially, because if they own you, and if it's this deal where, you know, you can make this amount of money, but only if the album succeeds, or you can play a show, but you only get to keep, 15% or something like that. What happens when you win a show like that, but then you realize, oh crap, I can't afford things because now they've taken all of this money from me because this album didn't do as well as it was supposed to, versus you own everything.
You own the label,
Everything that you just said can better position an artist possibly than if they actually win a show like Idol.
100%, dude. Yeah. I think Bill Burr said one time, he was like, owning 100% of the 20,000 copies that you sell is always going to be better than owning like 1% of the million copies that you could sell. Just because there's so many, musicians, even before the modern age of like Prince and Michael Jackson having big problems with the record agencies. Bruce Springsteen talks about how he was famous at like early 20s, going on tour all the time. And it wasn't until he was like 31 that he actually made any real money, because he was in so many bad deals with bad record labels. When you're thinking of like, I want to play Madison Square Garden, I want to be rich and famous, think to yourself, well, what if I made money in a way that wasn't selling tickets? And it's actually much easier to access. What if I just had like a side hustle that like 3 to 4 hours every day I worked on, and then that made me a lot of money, and then I could spend more time garnering the fans that could actually put myself in a big stadium. and I could build it up by myself. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very important lesson for people to learn. I think a lot of musicians especially sometimes have trouble compartmentalizing all the miniature steps that you want to take to get to a place like that. And so that's why something like American Idol and The Voice, they seem so seductive, because they're like, you don't have to think about anything, just sing and show up to the spot. And then it removes all the small steps that you'd have to do on your own to accomplish what you would otherwise want to accomplish. Yeah.
And when you're a part of a brand, they're relying on you to make them look good, and obviously they'll drop you like that if you don't give them what they want.
Right.
And they're not thinking about all of your costs just of living. I mean, think about the reason we talk about money. It's cost of living, putting food on the table, and you having control and knowing, okay, well, I have to pay for this and pay for that. It's not just the cost of your music videos and studio time. So having that ownership and being aware and in control and being able to organize and manage. Gosh, my mom's a financial advisor. She's probably jealous that she's not part of this conversation. I couldn't say this half as well as she could.
Yeah, there's so much freedom and options come from it. Like, I have an agent that books me on the weekends, so it's like agentception. So like I have like full-time salary, like basically pay, like a normal full-time amount of pay from my agent who books me on the weekends. And he just texts me and he says, hey, you want to do this date, this date, this date? I say, yes. And then I have like another full-time amount of pay from my small business. And so between those two things, I can just make my own schedule however I want to. And I can just go to do these cool like songwriting opportunities whenever I want to. And there's some producers that I'm already talking to in Nashville who are really, really pro, but you would have to pay to get a good thing produced by them. But I'm in a position where like I can spend that money, and it's not like I have one amount of $3,000 in my piggy bank that I can spend on one song and it better go viral. Otherwise I'm down for the rest of the year or something like that. Like I'm not in that position. I'm thinking about trying out different producers. Like I'm gonna make one song with this producer, one song with this producer, see which one is better connected to other people, because maybe they're both talented producers and making music, but one of them has much better connections. I have the financial mobility to where I can like make a few different songs with a few different people. And it just gives you so many different options, and it'll speed up everything. Like I can buy a Pro Tools course for myself and teach myself Pro Tools. And so I think keep connecting with other people, keep opening yourself up to rely on other people, but also keep building up your own skills independently. Look for producers, but teach yourself a little about production so that you know what you're talking about when you're going in there, and you know exactly what to ask for, and you know who's good and who's not. Keep looking for bandmates, but learn a little bit of keys, guitar, drums, because that'll inform your songwriting ability. It'll inform the way that you sing on tempo and in key, and the way that you riff, and the way that you learn about different scales. Hiring professionals is a great way to save time, but also teaching yourself as many skills as possible is a great way to save money.
If someone flakes on you or cancels, you got to lay down an instrument and someone doesn't show up, you're in the studio, you can take care of something yourself,
Yes, 100%, 100%. And ideally you want as many quality people around you helping you out. Like,
right.
I just produced my first live originals, and that I sent to you, same song in cuffing season. The keyboardist that I have is amazing. The drummer was on beat, and the video work was better than I could have ever done with video recording myself. So it saves so much time. The best product is going to come from a lot of really good quality people working on it to the best of their ability. The highest quantity of stuff will come out when you don't have to worry about anyone else's schedule. You can just churn stuff out by yourself. There's that one musician, I think his name's Joseph Solomon. Yeah, Joseph Solomon. He is a great resource, because he has kind of made a living on YouTube as a YouTube musician, putting out covers and originals. And then he'll put out, here's how I record vocals for myself. Here's how I set up my camera for myself. And it's all done by him. Connor Price is another guy that's blowing up on TikTok and YouTube right now, who does the video editing all by himself. He does all the producing. He does all the writing and performing. So like he's super independent and doesn't have to rely on anybody else, but he still does collaborations on like TikTok with other artists and brings other people in. Anise is another like independent artist who does a lot of his own self-production. And so the people that you're competing against right now are like learning these skills for themselves. So if you can learn how to work a DAW, like digital audio workstation, like Pro Tools or Logic, if you can learn how to record decent video, you're going to put yourself way ahead of someone who is only recording on their phone for everything that they do.
It also benefits you because you never know when someone is going to ask you, hey, do you know how to do this? And they say, hey, can you help me out? Because I find that, I'll be honest, I used to complain a lot about all the things I'd have to do by myself. And then people would start saying, hey, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? I still have a long road ahead of me in figuring out how to monetize a lot of the stuff that I do. But I've started slowly but surely thinking of different ways, and I'm realizing that I have a lot more skills than I did before starting to do all of this, and it's like, and you wouldn't have expected it because you can think, I mean, for me, I'm a podcaster. I talk to people. That's the goal, is to talk. But the editing and the audio and the video, it's like you may not have that as your main passion, but if you can know how to do something and you realize, oh, this is something that I can help somebody with and make some money, or just to know how to do it for yourself. I mean, it's valuable to have as many skills as you can.
Yeah, man. And I always I study a lot of the great influencers, or the ones that have rode like the biggest trends, and to see what they did. And I say great influencers, and I'm about to reference Call Me Daddy podcast. Call Her Daddy. I don't even watch the podcast, but I've listened to how they made it and how they made it big, because I just wanted to study like their process. And when Barstool Sports first saw the Call Her Daddy podcast, they saw how they edited it, and that's what stuck out to them. And they were like, do you guys edit your own podcast? And they said yes. And then Barstool was like, okay, done deal. We're going to sign you because you have editing talent. And if you look at the early Call Her Daddy videos, they do these constant jump cuts. Like one would be like, oh my God, I hang out with this boy last night, and my date did like this, and then said the most embarrassing thing to the waiter or something like that. And then it'll be like zoom in on one girl's face and then zoom in on another girl's face, and then like jump back and they're both laughing. And then like the camera shakes when they're laughing super hard. And like, there's all this, like every 5 seconds, there's like 3 different editing tricks that they've done. That is way above the normal podcasting session, because it takes so much extra work, right? But that's what separated them early on, was their ability to not only put together entertaining podcasts, but clip it together and edit it together in a way that like you couldn't look away, because there's so many jump cuts to keep track of. And yeah, the more you build your skills, the more you can set yourself apart. Anyone can talk, right? But not everyone can get like the Rode microphone and like the good headphones and ask interesting questions like you do. You're very good at like flowing the conversation. So there's 100 different like markers of what can make a good podcaster, a good musician. And the better you get at each of those markers is just what makes you stand out.
Well, tell me this, because you and I are both in extremely competitive fields right now. With every year that passes, it's such an accessible thing. I think my dad says it's such a low barrier to entry for musicians and podcasters, meaning it's so easy to sort of to have access to the equipment, and you can learn how to do something, and yet you're competing with everybody else that's doing it.
Huh. So that's funny that he says low barrier of entry, because I'd never thought the level of the musicians that I see, I don't think of as low barrier entry, but I know what he means.
Not in like a negative.
You can record your voice and put it online, and then you can be famous, and like you can just like be famous after that. That is a very low like amount of effort in one way.
Yeah.
But to be a viral musician, you have to be in the top 0.5% of talent if you just want to record yourself on your phone and then become famous. So like in my mind, that was always a high barrier of entry.
Okay.
But that the case can be made in 2 different ways, because it's much easier. It's way easier now than it ever has been in history to make a living as a musician doing exactly what you want. You can see this with the buskers who go famous on YouTube. This Guitaro 5000 on YouTube will have other people sing songs, and he just plays guitar karaoke basically. And he has these massive followings on YouTube and these massive views on his videos from people just watching him play guitar while other people sing on the street. And so in one way, it's like been democratized. Like anyone can make it. It's not just 3 channels on television.
Right.
It's not just one Andy Griffith show that if you make it on that, now you're a superstar. And there's only like 5 to 10 bands or superstars that you're going to hear on the radio. Now you can find 100,000 musicians in one day just from a Spotify search. And so there's like less number one, like Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley types in my mind. And there's way more, oh, this music venue is selling out 5 nights in a row of musicians that you've never heard of. Like in my mind, there's way more room for people to have a career doing music that they want to do. And tell me again what exactly you were saying with the barrier of entry point.
Well, yeah, because I don't know if I phrased it correctly. Essentially what he means is anyone has the access to physically upload a song, upload a podcast.
So it makes it very competitive.
Right, but to actually get noticed is the challenge.
Right. Yes, so I agree, but if you really study what the people are doing, you'll notice that there's still a barrier of entry. Because and that barrier of entry is changing constantly. So for podcasts specifically, the way that I hear about a podcast or a person speaking on a podcast, maybe he's just like a famous guy who's doing rounds on a bunch of podcasts sometimes, and you'll see like a bunch of his clips on different podcasts. Or sometimes you'll see one podcast is very popular and a lot of their clips will show up. The way that I see new podcasts is short form content on Instagram and YouTube, reels and shorts, right? That's popping right now. And the ones that are really breaking through the noise right now, and the barrier of entry for them is they're well edited. They have like good camera, good audio for musicians and podcasters. Maybe they'll do like did you hear this story? Like a lot of story retellings from like internet stories. Podcasters will retell them and then they'll just get credit for it. And then they'll just go viral being like a storyteller. But they have really good audio. They have like really good cameras and stuff like that. And they're really well edited and there's like cuts back and forth. And a lot of times you get like someone's reaction going like, oh, that's crazy, because human reactions is always a great way to go viral. That's why there's a whole like person reacts to and then insert anything.
Right.
Person reacts to Chris Stapleton singing the national anthem. There's 10 videos that have like 1 million views of that. People love watching human reactions. And so if you start breaking down the rules of like what makes something go viral and what doesn't, a lot of times stuff will follow the rules. Like something that's super funny doesn't need to have great audio, doesn't need to have great visuals, but if it's just really funny, sometimes that, like America's Homes videos, will just go viral. If someone's voice is amazing, sometimes it can cut through just like a phone recording it and it'll still sound amazing. And so that will go viral. But a lot of times it's like, we played this song for a random girl on the street and look at her reaction. And it zooms in on her face when like she hears this love song and you're playing it for her acoustically and it like zooms up. And then everyone's in the comments like, oh man, she loved the song. Like that's a very common thing. So I encourage people to, when you think about the barrier of entry and cutting through the noise and dealing with all the competition, look at what the most viral people are doing consistently, because 1% of people will get lucky sometimes, but the people who are putting out consistent high view, high listen content, find out what they're doing specifically. Like Anees, for example, on TikTok, Anees. He has 50 videos of him singing with a bright colored shirt in the front seat of his car with good quality audio and a light shining on his face, like good lighting, even though he's in his car. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell, like if you really pay attention, it's studio lighting in his car. He's singing into the camera. It sounds good. And it's like a professional camera, but because you're in the car, it feels intimate and it feels like you're just hanging out with him while he's singing in his car. High quality, but also connecting to someone on a human level. And he posts 50 videos of him singing like one chorus over and over and over again for every new original song that he has that comes out. And he has like 750,000 followers. Justin Bieber had him on Instagram Live. He does tours. He's killing it. When Lil Nas X came out with his song Old Town Road, he made 50 memes of like a cowboy riding in the middle of a street, just like a random stock video of a cowboy. And the caption would be like, when she texts me saying you up at 2 a.m. and it's like how fast you're going to get to her house. And like, he's just like riding on a horse. He posted like 50 joke memes like that with Old Town Road as the backup song of his meme. The last example I'll give, Connor Price is like a rapper, very famous right now. His method is he'll do a joke skit that a lot of people have copied where he says like, I invited this like xylophone player into my studio today, and it's him dressed up in a costume that makes him look different, but it's obviously still him. And he brings in a xylophone and he plays like a really simple xylophone melody, and then they remix that melody, put it into a rap beat, and then he drops a cool rap on it, and it's all done in like 40 seconds, but it's very like comedic the whole time. And he does kind of the same formula for all of his videos. So I would say study these musicians, study these podcasters. You can look up their interviews, see what they did to make their content stand out. It usually involves some quality of editing, some quality of recording, combined with the quality of their actual songwriting and their actual singing ability. And they usually just like use that method and they copy pasted it 50 to 100 times. And eventually they cut through the noise. At first glance, you're just like, damn, there's a million musicians. How am I going to stand out? But there's only 2% that are really doing the quality in the correct way. Jake, that dude, you know the song Golden Hour?
Yeah.
If you look up his promotional videos, it's here's me playing this for my piano teacher for the first time. Here's me playing this song for my ex for the first time. Here's me playing this song for my music songwriting college course that I'm a part of. And like, it's all these human reaction that he's getting. So when he's playing this for his piano teacher, he'll get to the emotional part of the song and he'll zoom in on her face when a tear is falling down her face. And then you can't help but like feel connected to all those humans in that moment. So like once you notice the pattern and the method and the formula, you'll start to catch on much better. I feel like I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and now I've gotten my team together. I had my American Idol run. I've been taking voice lessons for a long time. I'm ready to make some of this stuff for myself. And so the next steps for me is putting my stuff on Spotify, working with producers to get really good audio. Then once I have the Spotify, like 3 or 4 songs on Spotify, it's just going to be promoting those songs with human reaction videos. Here's me playing this song for a stranger. Here's me playing this song, busking it at the Metro. Look at all these reactions. Here's me singing it in my car. Like, I'm just going to kind of copy all these different people's methods to see which one sticks for me.
It's almost like that sort of barrier question is the answer is like, yes, but you have to figure out how to be creative about it. Don't just do it like everyone else. Find your own unique way. People have always said if you're going to be an artist, you have to be unique. But now it's like you have to be unique as an artist and unique as a promoter. And you know, as opposed to having someone else be your promoter, you have to be the promoter yourself.
Yes.
Because it's not enough to say, oh, well, the label's going to promote it for you. Because the people sitting around in suits aren't going to just tell the radio to put it on. It's up to you to get on TikTok or Instagram Reels, go out in the streets, play songs for people, and get their reactions.
You're so right. Like, as you have to be as a songwriter and you're telling your own story for the first time, you have to match that with a unique business mindset of how am I going to promote this in a way that is different than the way that other people have promoted it. But just like with music, the way that you listen to a rock and roll album, and if that's the only album you ever listen to, you're just going to be a rock and roll musician. Everyone copies first to then come up with their own unique thing. Like, the first memories I have of singing is like me trying to imitate people I would hear on the radio. And then eventually you have so many inspirations that your reflection of those inspirations is your own voice. Like, you're just such a medley of people that inspire you that now you've just become your own thing that is completely different. I would encourage people to just start making that unique content. And if you have no ideas, try and do what someone else has done. And then once you do it more, maybe you then think of a unique way that you can do it or a unique thing that you can do differently. But if you start by copying the same way that you're going to start by learning a cover song first before you write your own stuff, you're going to learn the skills that are needed to make a product like that. And then it's going to inform the way that you want to make stuff that is unique to you going forward.
It's so wild to think about how promoting has become just as much of the full-time job as making the music, because it's just the way that it is, but it has to become just as much of a passion as the music, right? And
Right.
it comes through. I think it's the authenticity as well, right? People can tell when you're having fun with it. Like if you're just doing something because, oh, well, I got to do this because that's the times we live in now, or I
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
promote
yeah, yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Find a way to do it that you actually want to, because I think if you have an attitude of like, oh, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be like everybody else that just has to spend 10 hours a day on
Right.
TikTok.
Yeah.
There's so
Yeah,
many ways.
dude.
You might surprise
Oh, yeah.
yourself, like have fun with
Yeah.
it.
No, it's so true. And I talked to some musicians, and some of them are like, man, I hate TikTok. And it kills me inside because it's a blessing and a curse of the modern age of like social media, Instagram. Like you kind of have to use it if you want to do something like this and you want to have fans. Your fans are just on their phones. That's where your fans are. It used to be you go to a battle of the bands and the people that wanted to hear new music would show up to the battle of the bands and find the new bands that they wanted to listen to, something like that. Like you would go see a live show of a band you never heard of if you want to follow them. Now people are pretty much buying tickets to stuff that they already know they love from Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. And it's like, oh no, I have to use social media a lot. But also, oh great, I don't need a record label that's going to tell me what to do to put me on. It's like, I can just make this thing for myself. So as corny as Instagram and TikTok might feel to some musicians, you have to realize like this is the first time your whole career has been given to you and literally in the palm of your hand. And like you have more control now than you're ever going to have. Fully embrace it, fully take it on, because shit is going to be annoying with any job. Like if we were working 9 to 5s, we would hate to use Excel every day. But we get to do this, and like we just have to disregard our hate for technology and like really embrace technology and learn how to work our own cameras, work our own lighting. It's going to make everything else so much easier, and you're going to have more control than you ever had.
I want to make sure that I give you the time to talk about the music that's out, you and your band, but kind of one more thing that I want to touch on. You work with so many different kinds of people, and I'm wondering if helping other musicians helps you as a musician yourself.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think that's the best way to be, because there's almost 8 billion people in the world. There's plenty of fans for everybody. It's not like you're in competition with somebody else right now. It's more like there's enough people for everyone to make it. And so if you surpass your peers, bring them up with you. And then when they surpass you, they'll bring you up as well. I stole that like line from a meme. I'm pretty sure I saw that as like an inspirational quote on BuzzFeed or something like that. But it is true. It's just so true. Like if you can elevate other people on social media, it's free. Like I'm in these group chats with other people. They put out music. I'm like, this is awesome. For free, I can share it with all my followers on my Instagram story. And I do that because it's something that I think my followers should listen to. You should absolutely just keep elevating people. There's no real competition unless you just make it up in your mind. And if you don't have that abundance mentality, if you don't think there's enough fans for everybody, it's only going to hold you back from making the right connections and putting people on that could then put you on. So always give first before you ask anything. I have people that are like really good friends with me now because I hooked them up with like an agent. Like when I first was working with this agent, I was like his only musician kind of that was working like full time. And I just kept bringing in musicians like, oh, dude, I like your voice. You should work with my agent. And I think some musicians might have thought like, oh, they might steal gigs from me if they're working with my agent. But it never happened like that. Now my agent has like all these substitutes if I can't make a gig. I have all these people that are like really good friends with me because I connected them with an agent that now like puts food on their table. And it's only been positive. And I love that I'm able to do that to people for free. If you're in the Northern Virginia area and want to play gigs, just like hit me up. Keep looking for win-wins, because win-wins, and if you give first and you help people out first, then if you need a favor, if you're like, hey, I wrote this song, can you throw it on your story? Without hesitation, people are always like willing to help me out.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're going to close out here with one of your songs, same song, and I want to ask you a little bit about it.
So it's called Same Song. The title of it is close to the name of the girl who I wrote it about. And it's not 100%. The whole thing is not 100% true. With a lot of songs, I like to start with something that is very personal usually has to do with an experience I've had mixed with like some insecure emotions that I have that I want to get out. And then I like to introduce some hypotheticals. So this is a relationship that I had with a girl where we was always clicked, always got along great, and I just wasn't ready for the commitment of the relationship. But in the song point of view is more two people who know that they can't commit, both of them, and they just want to live in that happy moment before they know they have to move on. And so it's about being on the same song, like looping your favorite song before the album ends, basically. And that's one of the first lines. We agreed we can't commit, but I'm spending the night once again. And we know it's foolish, but I just can't quit addicted. I just really enjoy this happy moment, and I don't want it to end because we both know it has to. So let's just like forget that it has to, and let's just like loop this song over and over and stay in this moment for as long as we can.
What feeling does it give you to listen back to that song, to play that song live, or just listen to it because you experienced it? I feel like it's a melancholy thing or bittersweet maybe.
Yeah. Bittersweet for sure. I love bittersweet. I love things that are like half good, half bad, and you don't really know how to feel. Because I think a lot of music is like, I miss you and I'm nothing without you. And a lot of music is like, I love you and everything is perfect. But I like the in-between feelings because that's where humanity really is. It's really in the gray. It never feels like the black and white. You always have a lot of stuff that's going on that's conflicted in your head. And so I like writing about a happy time with a bittersweet kind of emotion underneath it. Dude, I love playing my originals, man. I'm really proud of what I get to say in my originals, and I love just like telling my own life for other people so they can connect to it.
We got to meet up. I got to come see you live. It's not that far
dude, let's do it.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I was posting my schedule.
We're going to play Same Song to close out, but really quickly before we do that, where can people also go to stream that track or any of your songs, shows coming up? Yeah. Social media, whatever you want to plug, man.
If you want to come to any of my shows, I just posted I'm doing 20 or something in April. WF Baskin, Will frickin' Baskin, WF Baskin.
Love that.
Will Ford Baskin is actually what it stands for. Baskin like Carol. That's on Instagram and TikTok. WF as in Ford, BASKIN. Upallnight.band is my band's website. My YouTube is at Will Baskin 700. The YouTube channel has these originals in their full audio. So those would be the spots to find me. I would start with the Instagram though. WF Baskin. That's got my schedule, my link tree, my everything.
Will frickin' Baskin. I totally forgot about the Carol Baskin thing. Same last name. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, you can follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idle on Air Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe, whether you are listening or watching on YouTube. Make sure to leave a comment or review some of those stars. Share with a friend who might like this. Really appreciate you guys. And Will, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
Thanks for having me, man.
We can't commit, spending the night once again. We know it's foolish, but we just can't quit. Addicted, thinking how in a couple of months you're on the flight back. Don't get too attached, you wouldn't like that. Think that you're a player, but you're staring at your phone, wishing for another night of quick sipping, slow kissing, Disney Plus. Get attached before we gotta break it up. Say too much. Wanna hear the same song over and over for all went wrong. Thought that I told you can't move on. Don't skip forward with the same song over and over. You, why you soft on them lips when the Chrissy's so tight with them hips? And why is it every time I visit that the night becomes a day and the day becomes a weekend? Cause it's quick sipping, slow kissing, Disney Plus. Get attached before we gotta break it up. Oh, but I don't wanna say too much. Wanna hear the same song over and over for all went wrong. Thought that I told you skip forward with the told you. Can't move on, don't skip over with the same song over and over.